Units help us in a lot of things. They help us understand the words that we use in science, how we use formulas, and how we don't make mistakes and how we don't confuse ourselves. And these are really, really important. And I'm really going to start with the easiest and the most obvious units. You are, as you get older, you're going to hear of SI units. That just means the International System of Units. It says SI the wrong way around because it's in French. Systems International or something like that. So, what we're going to do is look at length first. Just give me a second with this cheeky monkey. All right, enough. Settle down. Just kick him on the back. Yeah, he's having a little cheeky monster. All right, so there's someone doing some work outside. Let me just get him moved to the other side. Yeah, it's a bit defensive. My son's going to move the big beast round the back. All right, and I really want to talk about length. Length is the easiest unit to talk about. Now, in physics, maths, doesn't matter what it is, but especially physics, and we're going to talk about physics here. Length is always in meters, always. It is never kilometers, it is never miles, it is never centimeters, it is never millimeters. And this is how to understand it. Okay? So the way to understand it is a kilometer is 1,000 meters. So if I have 2 kilometers, well, I know that 1 kilometer is 1,000 meters. And I look at it as a ratio. All of science is a ratio. If 1 kilometer is 1,000 meters, then 2 kilometers is 2,000 meters. I better put my units on the end. And it really tells me that if I'm going from kilometers to meters, I times by 1,000. And like all things in maths, if you're going from meters to kilometers, you do the opposite. That is the inverse function. So you will divide by 1,000. You've got to know this. You've got to practice this. All right. We also know that centimeters is 0.01 meters, but that's not how we normally talk about it. So you've got to put it into your own idea. Well, there are 100. There's 100 centimeters. Let's put it this way around. In 1 meter, there are 100 centimeters. All right, and then we can think about it. Well, what would I have in how many meters is 200 centimeters? Well, we know that's 2 meters. How do I change? How do I go from one to another? From meters and centimeters, I times by 100. So to go from centimeters to meters, I divide by 100. And it's an idea of thinking about it before you do a calculation. All right? Now, the same is true for kilograms, and I'm not going to show you how to do it. I hope this idea of how I was thinking helps me work it out. All right? Mass. In physics, now this is the place where we get really, where one of the really big issues happens in GCSE Science, or in science generally. Mass is kilograms and always kilograms. If this is physics, so if you're doing physics, mass is always kilograms. However, in chemistry, so in chemistry, mass is always grams. And you've got to know this. And you get students who are really, really, really good at physics, like, right, I've got it, I know what I'm doing. They come to chemistry and get all the calculations wrong. Like, I don't get why I got the calculation wrong. It's because you're working in kilograms. In chemistry, we always work in grams. And this is so important. It is absolutely so important. Imogen is absolutely fine. Don't worry about it, darling. So, physics is always kilograms, chemistry is always grams. And again, you think about how you change it. Kilo, and another way of looking at kilo means 1,000. So I'm just going to bring that over here and just move around. And I'm going to leave my notes on here. So kilograms, kilo means 1,000. So kilograms means I have 1,000 grams. All right. So, and again, keep the numbers simple. If I had 2 kilograms, Well, how many grams have I got? Well, that's 2,000. And I hope that makes sense. The next step is, well, how do I convert? Well, 2 kilograms to there, I'm timesing by 1,000. So if I'm going the other way, grams to kilograms, I'm dividing by 1,000. This is a mistake. Even in year 12, first year of A levels, get a lot of students messing up their units. This part doesn't matter, all right? You'll practice and get better at it. But knowing that you need kilograms in physics and chemistry is grams, if you get that part wrong, you will just struggle for months, even years. Time is always seconds, always. All right. Sometimes in biology we can use years. So if you're looking at how fast a forest is growing, we look at years. But now I'm talking about chemistry and physics. It's always seconds. We will give you time in minutes and hours, but you must change it to seconds. All right. Now, temperature is really interesting. It's Kelvin, but you don't really need to know that yet. Maybe at the end of year 11 I'll talk to you about Kelvin. All right. So this is the idea of units. It is something that you have to practice. All right. And it's really weird. Someone said to me, he said, "Sir, I want to get really good at science. What do I do?" And I love reading. I love reading books. I didn't when I was your age. That's really bad. I shouldn't say it. I might have said it. You said I did not like reading when I was in year 9, year 10. I only started reading, as I got older, as I went to university. I really, really started reading. I'd probably say about 18, and I love reading. So let's get over here. So yeah, understanding, and the student said to me, "So how do I get really good at science?" And when you read lots of things, and I've been very lucky. I've had really good teachers. And what makes people really good at science? And actually, it blends into a bigger question. What makes people good at anything? And it doesn't matter if it's welding. I love welding. Doesn't matter if it's electronics. I love electronics. Doesn't matter if it's art. Doesn't matter if it's maths. Doesn't matter if it's science. Doesn't matter if it's English. It is becoming amazingly brilliant at the basics. All right. If you want to become ridiculously good at maths, become ridiculously good at fractions, and there's no shortcut. What I mean by there's no shortcut, you cannot get ridiculously good at things without practicing the basics. And you'll see people doing art, right? My daughter loves art, and she's brilliant at art. You can't get good at it without learning how to shade. Well, how do you learn how to shade? Practice. Well, no, is there a short? No, practice. Well, how do you get good at welding? Practice. How do you get good at making Lego? Practice? How do you get good at Minecraft? Practice? Is there any shortcut? No. Right? So this is, in today's, I've got a couple of minutes left. I've been yaddering for 8 minutes. So in today's session, I really want you to understand units. I want you to be able to move from one unit to the other easily. And then my cunning plan next week is to look at concentration. And I'm going to add something to this. I haven't added concentration to this because that uses a different unit, but you've got to get used to units first. All right. So I'm just going to stop the recording. It's 9 minutes. It's below my